Hi there, I'm Viv from ANU Academic Skills and welcome to our video about preparing for exams. This one is about what to do during the exam, when it's useful to have an approach to tackle the questions that you're asked. If you've ever seen the Mr. Bean episode where he sits an exam, don't do any of the things that he does, and especially don't give up. Make sure that you answer every question and that every answer is on point. Make sure that it directly answers the question that's asked. Use all of the time allocated. Make sure that you give yourself that revision time to go over and check that you've answered every question. So one of the key mistakes that people do is that in an exam they get flustered and they don't answer the question that is asked. So read carefully and stick to the question that you're being asked. Say, for instance, you get asked a short answer question in archaeology, which is asking you are interested in excavating a shell midden in South Australia. Who might you need to consult before you could implement such a task, and why? So you might have learned a lot about shell middens in this particular course, and you might have all kinds of ideas about defining a shell midden, why South Australia is interesting, where in particular in South Australia is really relevant for shell middens, why they're important to excavate, how to excavate them. But all of that information is not what this question is asking you. So instead, make sure that you stay on point, especially with short answer questions. Just focus on who to consult and why them. Use your time really wisely and think about how you're going to approach the questions. If you have an exam where it doesn't matter which order you answer the questions in, consider using the 3-pass method, which is where you have 3 goes over or 3 stages of answering the questions. So in the first stage or the first pass, do the easy questions, get all of them done so that you feel confident that at least you've answered some questions. Then do a second go over or a second pass to answer the questions that you think you might know. And then in the last stage, answer the ones where you might have to guess a bit more. And that way you'll still get to answer all of the questions and you'll make sure that you've definitely answered the ones that you do or are likely to know. Now, if, for example, you have a linear exam where the answer to question 1 then determines the answer to question 2 and so on. If you have that kind of exam, that's where you might have some limitations around this. So make sure that you check the format with your lecturer beforehand and be prepared to work within those limitations. Be really strategic with your time management to give yourself plenty of time to work on the difficult questions. And also think about how you're going to deal with the questions if you can't answer them, if you don't know the answer to them. One of the key things that markers tell us is that they get really disappointed when students haven't provided their working, because markers might be able to give you marks if you have provided working or demonstration of how you would approach that question, even if you haven't gotten to the main answer. So give them everything that you can. Tell them every stage of your working, because you might get marks that way. If you're sitting an online exam, make sure that you're acquainted with the conditions that are required of you. If you're sitting a proctorio exam, there are frequently asked questions on the ANU website. Do follow the exam advice that I've already provided. Make sure that you keep to time and have a plan of attack and so on. But also thinking about sitting online exams, if you're going to be doing them at home or at the ANU library, consider the space around you and how to make that comfortable and how to make it well set up to be able to do that exam in the time that you have. You might be there for a couple of hours, for example. Turn off notifications, turn off all distractions. If you're sitting at home, make sure that you're in a room by yourself and that the other people around you are aware that you won't be able to talk with them for a couple of hours. And make sure that you're aware of what you can and cannot do in that exam. So find out the rules. So in sum, make sure that you answer every question. Make sure that every answer is really directly answering the question, and use all of the time allocated to revise and double check your answers. So that wraps up the video on what to do during an exam. The next one talks about what to do after an exam.